really want to swear. Oh, sod it. For what does this mean?
In today's video, we contradict what lots of other property pundits are saying. And if you stay tuned to the end, you will find out about a council who is going to High Court to challenge the decision that they made when granting planning permissions or refusing planning permissions. Stay tuned to the end. And if you like what you're hearing, smash that subscribe button and don't forget to share it with your friends. Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic planning update with the amazing, phenomenal Linda Wright. Welcome today, Linda.
Thank you, Andrew. Lovely to be here yet again. What are we talking about today?
Well, we've got a new Minister for Planning. Our good friend Robert Jenrick has lost his job. And Michael Gove is now the Minister for Housing and Planning. Is that what we call his department these days?
No, it's not. Oh, God, you've got to, I can't get this in the right order. Yes, so Rob the Builder has gone. He's off site. He's no hard hat. His high-vis vest has been taken off him. And we've got Michael Gove, who is now the Secretary of State and the head of the Department for Levelling Up and Housing and Communities. I think that's the right way round.
So levelling up, do we mean this is where we get more Greg's bakeries down south to level up the pie eating in the country?
I really want to swear. Oh, sod it. For what does this mean? It seems to me that it's something that a 14-year-old in Whitehall made up and the idiots in government have run with. And I don't know whether we're actually going to put that in the video, but we'll see. So level up. Do you know what it means? Other than pies and equal distribution of pies, flat caps and whippets, do you know what it means? Because I sure as hell, I know there's a whole levelling up agenda. I'm not stupid, but I still don't get it.
No.
Are we going to have one homogenous country that where everybody is perfect and it all looks the same? Rubbish. It's never been like that. It's never going to be like that.
Well, I don't think it's anything like that, Linda. I mean, Michael Gove, he's famous for stabbing Boris Johnson in the chest in the Tory leadership campaign post-Brexit. So perhaps levelling up means everybody, it's okay to stab somebody in the chest instead of in the back now. It's a new trend.
Perhaps this particular role has been given to the delightful disco dancing Mr. Gove. Perhaps it's been handed to him by the even more delightful Bojo as a poison chalice. Because Boris is looking at this and thinking, oh God, this is not going well. The planning bill has been roundly criticised throughout the entire industry, developers, objectors alike. So now he wants someone in the body of Michael Gove, as it turns out, to actually put the brakes on. And he won't get blamed. It'll all be Michael Gove's fault.
So what we're doing, and I mean, to me, does Michael Gove look like Joe 90?
No,
Joe 90, the disco dancing NIMBY king of housing and planning. Now, the Times holds Michael Gove out as a bit of a NIMBY, as we can see from the image here. Do you think he's as pro-building as everybody else is saying? I mean, Linda, to quote a few different bodies, the NRLA, the National Residential Landlords Association, see him as pro-building. Property 118 refer to him as the big beast has been brought in. A friend of mine, Ranjan Bhattacharya, on his YouTube channel, says he thinks he's pro-housing. Now, with this image of him here holding this banner, I think he's a NIMBY. Now,
well, I think Andrew, from that banner and from what the evidence there, I think he is the king of the NIMBYs. Now, bearing in mind his constituency is Surrey Heath, do you not think he might get lobbied by some of his very probably affluent constituents that they do not want building in their backyards?
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Very much so. I mean, I was reading, and to quote another national press here, The Guardian, just for balance from Times, Property 118, NRLA, The Guardian, and they think that Gove, Michael Gove, MP for Surrey Heath, is going to pause Robert Jenrick's planning reforms. And that is as a direct result of backbench pressure, because one of the other jobs that Michael Gove has is responsibility for elections. Now, if he's responsible for elections and backbench Tory MPs, Conservative MPs, are putting pressure on him that they're going to lose their seat if houses are built in their backyard, there's a very good justification that he's actually going to scrap the reforms that were proposed by Robert Jenrick and stamp his own authority with his own direction. What do you think?
Right, let's throw another name in here then, Shah. I don't know what I think, to be honest. Let's throw another name in here. The delightful Dominic Cummings, formerly of the government advisor capacity. So Dominic Cummings, Robert Jenrick and Boris had this grand idea in this grand scheme. They were going to change the biggest shake-up in planning for 50 years or whatever it was. Part of this has been done, and we've seen these so-called permitted development rights, which are not permitted development rights. We've seen the building up of buildings, adding additional stories, and all of this. The use classes order changed since 1987. So I understand all of that, but the planning bill was roundly criticised. It was going to be that you could scrap real full and detailed, well, not full and detailed, but you could scrap planning applications, and everything would just go into zones, and we were going to do an American, Canadian, various places over the world, have this zoning system. This has been massively criticised by the great and the good across the industry. So the fact that sources say, as it says in The Guardian, I have no idea who these sources are.
Your daddies.
Does it really matter? But who are these sources? Sources say, within days of Michael Gove being handed this poison chalice, in my view, within days of that, he was, it's all over the media that he's going to be pausing the planning reforms. What I think is, I think that's not a bad idea. And it's not that all of the planning reforms are going to be shelved, they're going to be stopped. It says that they are going to be paused to reconsider them. And I think that can only be a good thing, because this whole zoning idea, maybe it's just because I'm nothing more than a humble planner and an ex-council planner of many years standing, although I'm private sector now, but that worried me greatly. I've worked in the zoning system because I worked for the government of Bermuda, who operated a zoning system.
And you managed to find your way back here?
Yeah, you have to pay tax at some point. I think if you're operating a tiny little island and you can do it like that, as Bermuda is, then it worked. I'm not convinced that type of planning system will work here. I know we're going to get letters, well, not letters anymore, but we're going to get emails, we're going to get comments. I think that pausing, not shelving or stopping, but let's face it, the whole planning bill came out over 12 months ago now. There's been nothing happened to it. And I suspect that that is because certain members of the government have looked at the fact that it has been torn to shreds by people who are in the know. So I think that being the case, I think everybody has put the brakes on and thought, oh, hang on a minute, maybe we ought to just have a look at this again. And I think that is what is happening. The fact that it's Michael Gove who is heading up the levelling up, still don't know what that means.
Well, this is where Michael Gove goes like this with his disco dancing. Surely it's levelling up the disco floor in Aberdeen.
Yeah, I think that's not his day job.
We're being controversial here, Linda. Do you think that the audience agree with us, or do you think they agree with, for argument's sake, Ranjan's YouTube channel, where his video says all sorts of things that basically Michael Gove in the past was pro planning reforms. He's been pro development. But now that it's in his backyard, the more recent data seems to indicate he's backing off.
Yeah.
And when he's got a controversial role where he's responsible for delivering planning, and in the other hand, he's responsible for delivering an election result, and the one might conflict with the results of the other, it's a bit of a poison chalice for him, really.
It is. It is. I think that what is going to happen with this is I think that all of these planning reforms are going to be so slowed down and delayed, possibly for more than 18 months beyond the election, and it's going to be somebody else's problem. I truly believe that in the next 18 months, there is nothing radical that is going to happen with the planning system. There's already been a few bits of radical, but not changing the entire method of planning in this country. I don't think that's going to happen.
What you're saying is
you don't know, do you?
Yeah, Michael Gove is effectively kicking the ball out the park to let somebody else pick the ball up and play with it another day.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen, because I think there have been so many criticisms from all sorts of various disciplines, and that has, I mean, you know, the office of the London Mayor was one of the massive critics of this planning bill, and the fact that it's never gone anywhere. Yes, I know government have been dealing with the pandemic and everything else, but the fact that it's never gone anywhere, I think indicates they've suddenly thought, oh, hang on a minute, not everybody agrees with us here, maybe we ought to just regroup and have a think. And I think that's what Michael Gove, and if that is truly has come from him, and it's not just come from the Whitehall Wallers, the civil servants who've said we need to backtrack on this, and if it truly has come from Michael Gove, and you never know with these things, I seriously doubt it. I seriously think he's probably been advised on this. If that is the case, then I have the greatest respect for those people. It's always the most difficult job to be when everybody's pushing forward and saying, oh, this is fabulous, look at this, and it's the emperor's new clothes, and let's go. It's always the most difficult job for somebody to stand up and say, whoa, hang on a minute, just let's look at this again. And if that's what has happened, then I've got the greatest amount of respect for him, because it does seriously need to be reviewed.
No, I agree with you that there needs to be some balance to this. However, I also think we shouldn't hang on to the past just because we've always done it like that. Yeah. But we do live on an island. There's only a small amount of land that can be developed. And I think an idea around zoning and saying this is protected, this can be developed, this can be residential, this can be industrial, is probably something worth considering. Now, do you agree with what Linda and I are saying today? Do you think that we've got it right, and other pundits who predict that Michael Gove will drive through these reforms like the dandy highwayman? Or do you think he will be fearful for his job and his political positioning? Because if you're responsible for delivering an election result and you're responsible for delivering planning reforms, and the one could impact on the other,
don't forget
if you lose the election,
don't forget the pies. Don't forget the pies and the levelling up and the housing.
Absolutely.
And
do you think Greggs will take eel pies up north?
well, if they can bring guacamole, aka mushy peas, down south, then yeah, you know, why not? The other thing is that oh God, I'm going to have to get used to this. The the Department of Levelling Up Housing and Communities has housing in there specifically. Now, how is housing delivered? Through the planning process. Is all of this regulation levelling up, you know, levelling out of economic prosperity and all of that? Well, that's contradiction in term, but economics levelling up of prosperity across England. Is that the responsibility? Is it all just about housing? And I put a social media post having one of my rants on LinkedIn. Is that just about housing? Is housing the key to prosperity? Well, housing alone isn't the key to prosperity. And is all of this responsibility going to fall on the backs of council planners? If it does, haven't they got enough to deal with? And I think that if that is what ultimately is going to happen, then it's putting the emphasis and the accountability and responsibility in the wrong place. And I feel for council planners, I really do.
No, it's going to be interesting time ahead, Linda.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered the famous front stabbing, NIMBY disco dancing king of planning and housing and levelling up and communities. So do we call him Viscount de Luc, as in it's a French department, Viscount de Luc? Yeah. On that note, Linda, I think we better draw a close. We've been contentious enough. We've probably upset a few people by telling them we think the results are going to be different. If you agree, let us know. If you don't agree, tell me below why you don't agree, and we will respond with evidence against what you're saying. We look forward to seeing you in another future video. Linda, thank you so much once again. I love doing these videos with you.
Thanks, guys.
And just in case you don't tune in regular, it's worth watching because we might release the outtakes of our preamble before we record these videos.
No.
And they are really good fun. So stay tuned because we've got some viewer Q&As coming up. And we also have, believe it or not, a council who has made a decision to give planning, and now they're going to High Court to appeal their own decision. Stay tuned in further videos.